Oh, hold on, guys. Hey, babe. Yeah, really good. I just cooked the best tri-tip of my life on the Joe Jr. with a little bit of bone marrow. Hey, can I call you back? We're just gonna finish the video.
Sure.
All right, love you too. Bye. Sorry, it happens. Like, I got a life too, you know what I mean? Come on, it's Saturday. Hey team, Chef Eric Gephart here, hope you're well. Today we're gonna be cooking on the Joe Jr. and doing one of my favorite beef recipes. So Creekstone Farms has sent us a beautiful tri-tip and we've got some bone marrow. So I wanna introduce to you the low and slow direct bone marrow encrusted tri-tip. Here we go. First thing we have to do is we've got to get our Joe Jr. started. And it's super simple, just like all the other KJs. Let's jump in and take a look. This grill comes with a deflector shield and a little riser. So check this out, let me show you how this works. You could have the grill grate just like this, really close to your flame, or set that riser in. And remember, that's what the deflector shield would sit in, but if we want to direct cook like we do today, we'll put our grill grate right on top. All right, so let's get this grill lit. Let's get charcoal in the firebox, but not so much that it inhibits our airflow. So we're gonna fill this box up about halfway and bank the coals to the back and light it from the bottom. As I mentioned, we're gonna do low and slow, but we're gonna do a direct low and slow. So let's agitate our charcoal, spread that heat out evenly. Now we'll put on our grill grate. I'm gonna close the dome now so that dome will start accepting some heat, and we're gonna open the daisy wheel all the way up. So we're still promoting great airflow. Our draft door is all the way open. Our daisy wheel on top is all the way open, and that dome is accepting that energy, accepting that heat, so we get nice radiant energy and radiant cooking on that tri-tip for the first portion of the cook. So this tri-tip is coming to us from Creekstone Farm. I refer to this, they're located in Kansas, so I refer to this cut as the Kansas Tornado. Look at that, unbelievable stuff. And notice the fat content on the outside. I don't want to trim that stuff off. So a lot of people would put olive oil all over this and then throw it on the grill. If we leave that fat on there as is, we're good to go. But what I will do is talk about scruffing real quick. So I want to almost double the surface area of the steak by putting little slices down the surface area. You don't need to go too deep. We'll cross hatch it. And this is going to allow for that fat as it renders out to help drive the seasoning down. It'll give us a really unique flavor and amplify everything that we love about this steak. Every little nick we make is just a place for flavor to drive down into. Today, for seasonings, we've chosen a Lane's Barbecue Cubano. I really enjoy this. It's got a lot of pepper, a lot of garlic, a lot of lime, sugar, salt, and oregano. Texture is everything in seasoning. Notice these large granules. That's gonna help me not burn up on this direct cook. This is high quality stuff. We're gunning for a temperature of 300 degrees, and we're there. Whenever you put a piece of meat on, whether you're going direct or indirect, I always like to put presentation side down first. So we are gonna slice this in the end, but to me, that fat cap side is the presentation side. So right down, a little bit of a hiss, not too much. Close the dome. I'm gonna taper down the daisy wheel halfway and taper down the draft door halfway. That's going to allow us to maintain that 300 degrees for about 45 minutes. It's been 30 minutes at 300. And that's fantastic. Remember, this is not the last sear we're going to do. It's almost going to be a reverse sear after this. But I want to go ahead and put the bone marrow, and I got a Canoe cut piece of bone here. You can get this at any butcher market. I'm gonna set that right on the grill grate, and that marrow is gonna soften up. So now we have flipped halfway through the cook our tri-tip. We're looking for an internal temperature of 120. We're gonna give it 30 more minutes at 300 degrees. Just under 300 degrees, just under an hour. Let's take an internal temperature and see where we are. Love the look of this tri-tip, and we're sitting at 115. So let's go ahead and pull this baby off and let it rest. So we are still gonna reverse sear this. I'm gonna open up the draft door all the way. I'm gonna leave the lid open for a hot minute and let that charcoal fully come back. Look, as soon as I open that up, we've got a little flame going on down there. So let's take off our bone marrow. Let's go ahead and get access to our charcoal and just stack what we've got left. We don't need to add more charcoal. We just need to make sure that all our fuel is together so that we can get a higher temperature, because now we're gonna let this steak rest. We're gonna slather bone marrow all over it, and then we're gonna sear it again, and that's gonna give it a bone marrow crust, this just luxurious beefy flavor. So we've warmed, look at this. Oh yeah. We'll just put that right on the outside there. So as this tri-tip is resting, all that bone marrow is just tacking up on the outside. Let's get the other side as well. And that is spectacular. So we'll let this beautiful tri-tip rest. I want to ensure that we get a really nice blistering caramelized sear on here. So I'm going to let this grill come to temperature for a couple more minutes. I want you to remember we didn't put any smoke with this, but we are going to see a little bit of smoke ring. The drippings, when the collagen turned to gelatin, we smoked this really slow with its own dripping. So as it drips onto the natural lump charcoal, because we have it direct, it caramelizes and comes up as that blue smoke. So smoking this tri-tip with its own drippings, magical stuff. Now, I do want to dry baste or re-season and then go for the blistering sear. So I bet we're up to 600, and I'm gonna get both sides. I bet we're at 600. Our bone marrow has tacked nicely here. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Let's go ahead and get that final sear. And I'm gonna put it on the side. Notice I stacked all the charcoal on that side. Too easy. And that's what I wanna hear. Sometimes a little positive pressure can help out as well. Now, because I came to that internal temperature of about 115, I'm gonna let this stay for about 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side. Now think about this too, while you're letting your meat rest and your grill's coming up to temperature, what a great opportunity to finish off some vegetables. I picked a quick cook vegetable, and I love these little guys because I don't really have to use tongs to flip them all around. And we'll go real close to this meat here, and remember how we seasoned the tri-tip with its own drippings, the smoke of its own drippings. These little beauties are going to get some char on them and pick up some beautiful tri-tip flavor in the meantime. I'm not going to close this dome. This is going to be a lid up cook from this point on, because I want to max out the heat. I want to really come over here, Nathan. Look at it. Look how it's just rolling. See how light those flames are? So we know exactly what we're doing here. We're not raising the internal temperature too much, just a little bit. We want to get to that medium rare, but we're using the flames. We're living on the edge of uncertainty, if you will, Francis Mallman quote there, playing with the fire. So as I can see that bone marrow and that fat dripping, and I can see that my tomatoes are getting a little too much char, I'm gonna move them on over a little bit. I'm not trying to burn them, just want a nice little char. And any of those guys that have fallen off, let's kick them over as well. So we're using our chef's intuition right now and really engaging. Let's take a sneak peek and just see where we are. Oh my gosh. Snap, crackle, pop. Now, some of you might think that's over caramelized. Not a chance, Lance. That is right where we want this baby. And then as we're slicing into that, we're getting that crunch from that bark. Pop one of those little tomatoes and a burst of acidity hits us with that nice sweet freshness from the garden. It's a win-win. All right, that's 1.5 minutes on each side. We could even, oh, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Stunning. And maybe we stand it up on its edge here and leave it like that while we get our tomatoes. This is something I like to present on a cutting board. So I got a new clean cutting board here. Just bring everybody down. hang out right there. Those are great. That's a no fuss side right there. Just throw it straight from the garden or the grocery store right onto the grill. A little shake of seasoning. All right, beautiful. Perhaps we put them right on top of that bone just for kind of creative plate presentation. So remember, this is ready to slice at this point. We already rested it the first time, so we are good to go. That last bit of cooking was really just to drive a little bit of temperature, but mainly to get that crust on the outside. So we're ready to go. What we need to keep into consideration with this Kansas Tornado here is cutting across the grain. And when you're doing a tri-tip, you can work from the end and kind of come this way, and then it swivels and comes across. So it kind of fan cuts this way. So what I like to do, because it's hard to keep track, I'll just come right about here, right where kind of the elbow is, if you will, and I'll slice it once. Let's take a look at that. Stunning. And now we can treat this as if it were two separate muscles, and it's a lot easier to keep track of how we're slicing it across the grain. Oh man, this cuts like butter. When you've got such a nice marbled piece of meat like this, you do not want to cook it rare. You want to give that internal collagen or that fat, that marbling in there, time to break down and turn into flavor and moisture content. And this will begin to rouge out. So, you know, this will be a perfect medium rare plus here in just a minute. We took it to an internal temperature of just under 130. Kind of cut these into bite-sized pieces. Notice there is still some drippings on the board. We're gonna take these pieces that we cut into bite-sized pieces and toss them in that. That's the board sauce. And then a little post seasoning. Toss that. And we've got two different experiences here because we sliced it two different ways. So we'll kind of pile that up for our guests to enjoy. Absolutely stunning. Again, one of my favorite cuts of beef out there, the tri-tip. Super versatile cut. Let's give it a bite. Wow. The beefiness of that marrow sets it off. Just sets it off. Little board sauce there. That's ridiculous. Stunning. By cooking it low and slow, everything breaks down. Marrow sear. And then that happens. That is too much fun. Those little tomatoes with the seasoning on them and the marrow on them and the beef smoke on them. I mean, that is a delectable bite. I mean, I get straight beef from the tomatoes too. Folks, this is a fun way to cook your tri-tip. It's not indirect reverse sear. It's direct cook. Just make sure that first part you go low and slow. If you feel more comfortable at 250 doing direct, start at 250, but come to that internal temperature of 115, rest, put the marrow on the outside, blister sear it, you're gonna have a good time. It's a party, I promise you. So from our backyard to yours, cheers and happy grilling.